What do you look at his role? As we talked about Yabusele's role when players start to trickle back in the rotation, what do you see his role as?
So I said it in my recap last night of the game. I think any minute that you were like Eric Gordon would get, I would just give to Jared McCain straight up.
Yep.
Like I think
I agree.
his early form and sort of what we've seen from Eric Gordon says to me, if those two are even close, right? What is the case for playing either one? The case for playing Gordon is that you would think he's a veteran, he's been around, he'll bring a level of stability that you're not going to get from a rookie, but he hasn't, right? Like his shooting's been up and down as you would expect from a role player. Defensively, he has looked off the pace, and that's not surprising for a 36-year-old guard who doesn't have the greatest size in the world. In that case, you say Jared McCain moves a lot better. So the movement shooting that we're talking about, maybe that's not happening at the same level as like JJ Redick. It's not that frenetic sprint around the floor type of movement. But if he can give you that dynamic and the relocation ability and all that, and you're talking about we can get reps for this kid right now to build him up for, even if it's just for trade purposes, but what I would say is more for get this kid ready to play real minutes against real teams, potentially in a playoff setting, that is infinitely more valuable to this team on several fronts than just running out Eric Gordon and hoping that he hits like career averages from three. The developmental time that you can spend now while also getting production from him right now, because it's one thing if Jared had come out and shot like crap and you're dealing with the defensive issues of a rookie, then it's easier for Nick Nurse to look down the bench and say, well, I'll just go with Eric Gordon. If you're even or close to even as the young guy with theoretically way more upside, with athleticism that you can leverage in certain circumstances, I would 100% go with the younger guy and play him. So I don't know how many minutes that is. Maybe that's 15 minutes. Maybe that's 20 minutes. He plays 30 plus last night, I believe, in a pretty unique circumstance. But I think at minimum, you can find 15 minutes a night for this kid. And then from there, it's where a lot of guys are at. How are you playing? What lineups are working? And you work situationally. And that should be the good problem this team has, right? Is that you want to get guys a certain amount of minutes as a base level. And then you just feel the game. You say, Yabusele has 6 threes tonight. We're going to play him till the wheels fall off. Jared McCain is cooking people. We're going to play Jared McCain, and we can play a little smaller and do things like that. That should be the beauty of this team and this roster. But I think bare minimum, he should have a guaranteed nightly role for, let's call it at least like a few weeks or so. You see what you got. And if he tails off, if he's struggling, you can always pull him back and say, you need to watch from the side a little bit, and we'll give other guys a shot.
No, it's a fair point, because we brought this up with Yabu before the season. I don't like reading too much into early season shooting trends. I think we can get anchored to sort of early season results and get frustrated by them when it's really just a small snapshot of a season. If somebody struggles in January, you don't really care. But if they struggle out of the gate in October, you freak out and you panic. There were 2 players I sort of made an exception to. That was Yabu, because we hadn't seen him in the NBA three-point line in quite a while. And that was McCain, because to your point, if Eric Gordon comes out and he struggles from the perimeter, you go, well, Eric Gordon has a track record of making threes at an NBA level. Now, the track record of driving or creating off the dribble at this point, looking a little slow. Get to that later. But McCain doesn't. So him coming out and making those shots early, it's a lot easier for Nick Nurse to be like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. Even if maybe what he's doing outside of there, with some of his drive and kick stuff, with some of his competitiveness, even if he does have limitations offensively, that goes, oh, I can believe in this kid a little bit. And even though, he's going to make a mistake, a rookie mistake on defense here or there, the compete level being there, I think helps Nurse maybe overcome some of his, struggles to play young players. But I think making shots is definitely key.
And so Nurse was talking about Jeff Doughton last night, but I think this generally applies to his philosophy on how they started the year. He said, we gave Reggie Jackson first crack because he has a much longer track record. If you're saying we're getting to our like 3rd, 4th guard on the bench who's going to run backup minutes, Reggie will try first. And then Reggie did not work out last week. Was terrible in the limited minutes on that road trip. And so Nurse said, now it's time to see the young guy. Now it's time for Jeff Doughton to get an opportunity. I thought Jeff Doughton did a decent job with his minutes last night. He's part of the reason they were able to win that game, because he could buy them, 10, 15 effective-ish minutes off the bench. So you look at McCain and Gordon in the same light, right? It's completely justifiable, especially when you go back to Summer League, and McCain had a ton of struggles there, although he had some flashes there, to say Eric Gordon, despite his limitations, is going to get first crack at those type of minutes in that off-guard role where you'll mostly be a bench guy, maybe like an occasional spot starter. You're going to get to try first. Well, you look at Eric Gordon. He has the one good game against Indiana, but largely has been ineffective otherwise. And Nick Nurse says, okay, let's go to Jared. Jared had a nice game the one night. Give him the minutes last night. Has an excellent game. And you ride him and ride him. Like, I think the usage of McCain so far has been perfectly reasonable, right? Like, Nurse is not burying him on the bench. And when he's had good games, he said, not only are you playing, I will allow you to close. I'll allow you to play big minutes. Like, as a rookie, I think that's all you can really ask for, right? Is you have an opportunity. What are you going to do with it? And, all credit to Jared for he's had either a DMP or close to DMP and still being able to come in on a night like last night and have an unbelievable game.
Yeah, he played 3 minutes against Phoenix. And I just the last thing I want to say on Jared, I understand the rotation is going to shrink when Embiid and Maxey come back. I understand they're probably going to want to see some of these veterans have a chance to play the role that they signed them to play, including Eric Gordon, who's probably the most direct competitor to McCain. But I want to make sure that they play McCain next to Embiid too, because I really think he has the kind of skill set where he could flourish off of him and play off of him, and they can really he can create space for Joel. Joel can create space for him. I just don't bury him completely. I really hope that's the case.
We all city like the mayor.